Good morning, Riley. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, day number 139 of Riley and my hike on the Appalachian Trail. Trail's right here. We're going this way, northbound. This is where we camped last night. Shake. Riley. Hold up. Hold up, Riley. Riley, I gotta get my poles. And I gotta secure you. So we crossed US Route 2 yesterday early evening. So by my book, we are officially out of the White Mountains and in the last stretch of New Hampshire. We're about 13.9 miles away from crossing over the New Hampshire-Maine border into Maine. It was actually really warm last night. Just very comfortable. Not like so comfortable that I didn't even put on any other clothes over my orange hiking shirt. And I just got in my regular sleeping bag. I didn't even get in my liner. And I didn't even put Riley's jacket on. It was we didn't need any additional warmth. We are climbing up Mount Hayes right now. We got partway up last night. And I was just really tired, so decided to call it a day when we got to that campsite, and it was already dark, so certainly made sense to do so. Achoo! Achoo, achoo. Ugh. The woods that we're in right now already feel much different from the White Mountains. The main thing is that there are lots of deciduous trees around here. And so there's lots of leaves on the ground. In the White Mountains area, I didn't focus on this, but it feels like there were no deciduous trees. I'm sure there must have been some, but it felt like almost all the trees were conifers, with stuff with these types of branches, pine needles, stuff like this. And they were all like very close together and very close to the trail. And it always felt like I had very little space, because the coniferous branches were just always like invading the space of the trail. And it would be very hard to hike without brushing up against the branches. And it felt like the branches were like little arms trying to hold you back. But it just feels much more open here. At least where I am now. There was a comment on Far Out last night that I read as I was looking to see what the various camping options were. And one of the people just wrote a comment about the climb up that we're doing right now. climb up Mount Hayes, and he said, "Hold up, Riley, hold up." Basically said that the climb is a nice, gentle climb with, rocks and roots, but plenty of dirt and nothing too difficult. And then in parentheses, he said, like, in case you now have climb anxiety from climbing up all the, and these are my words, like climbing up all the crazy, ridiculous climbs that we did in the Whites, where the climbs were just extremely steep and it was like all rocks, and you constantly had to be prepared for needing to use your hands, and just anything that the trail might throw at you. You had to just be prepared for any crazy thing. And as I'm hiking, I would often say to myself, "What? Now you want us to do this? What in the world? This is ridiculous." I would often think those thoughts to myself as I was hiking up various sections in the Whites. But yeah, the trail here, certainly there's rocks here that we're going over, but it's mixed in with a lot of soil, which is always very nice to walk on. So this is definitely a very pleasant climb. Riley is taking it slow this morning, sniffing everything out, which is what he usually does. There should be water coming up as we get close to the summit. We're about when we started the day, we were 1.5 miles away from the summit of Mount Hayes. And I have no water on me. We didn't have any water last night either. There was supposed to be a water source before we got to the campsite, but I did not see any water. So we were waterless last night. So when we get to this water source, I will make sure to give Riley plenty of water with some food, and I will drink up as well. My left foot is, I mentioned last night that I was developing some blister-like holes on the bottom of my left foot in the upper area, kind of a little bit below my toes. And it felt kind of like I was walking on nails yesterday. Especially last night, I took a break before we got to the campsite, and then as I was continuing on, it just felt really, really uncomfortable. So I don't have any Vaseline on me, but I did have a little packet of olive oil, and I tried opening the packet of olive oil and rubbing it on my foot last night in the tent. I feel like that helped a little bit, and I still have some olive oil left that I'm saving for today if I need it. And I decided to put a third sock. So I'm wearing my Gentian toe liner as the first sock, and then I have a second sock. Then I basically have 2 darn tough socks over that sock. So I have 3 socks on my left foot, 2 socks on my right foot, in an attempt to give my left foot a little more cushion. And so far, it seems like I'm able to hike. Like, I can still feel the discomfort, but it feels, I'm encouraged by how it feels. Like, I don't have a crazy amount of pain. So I think I'll be able to hike today, and I think it'll gradually get better. It would be nice if Riley would hike with me. That would be nice. Instead of stopping and just looking at me and not explaining why you're stopping. All right, it looks like we have reached the summit of Mount Hayes. We're on a big rock slab right next to the cairn. Sun's high in the sky. We're just having a string of warm weather days. Very, very warm. Feels like summer. Which way do we go? Guess we go this way. But not if Riley is stopping. Riley, it's not good to stop in the direct sunlight. That sun is beating down on us. Riley's thirsty, I think. We need to get him some water. There's water coming up. There's water coming up. I will give you water, Riley. Come on, Riley. Let's go, buddy. Come on. Riley, come on. Mr. Riley. What's wrong, sir? Do you think you have friends back there and you want to wait on them? Is that what you think? Come on, Riley. Let's go. Come on, Riley. Okay, I need to let out a growl. Urgh. Lunchtime. I opened Riley's bag of dry food, his 5-pound bag of dry food, and mixed in some turkey and put in a lot of water. And Riley is making it disappear. Hold up. Riley, hold up, buddy. Oh, Riley, no! Come on, man. All right, we're gonna take a little break here. We've taken a lot of breaks today. Wasted a good bit of time, and the sun's already getting low in the sky. And I was getting frustrated earlier because Riley wouldn't hike. He just kept wanting to take breaks. And then 2 hikers caught up to us. One guy named Achilles, another guy named Noodles. And that motivated them for a little while. But they're both faster than us, and they hiked on. And then we saw 2 southbounders a short while ago. And that kind of took the wind out of Riley's sails. At least we're safe, right? At least we're safe for the time being. I'm just tired. That's why I'm not saying much. Just tired. We are making the most of the remaining daylight. We're at least hiking consistently here. We are approaching Gentian Pond Shelter. We're probably a little over a mile away still. And it's getting close to 7 o'clock probably, if not already 7. So we only have a little bit of daylight left. But at least Riley's hiking. When we get to Gentian Pond Shelter, I think we'll have done about 9.7 miles on the day. And the shelter is 0.2 off the trail. And there is an option, if I want, to try to hike another 1.2 miles, where there's supposed to be a campsite and a water source about 0.2 before the campsite. So I'll see how I feel when I get there. But at least we're making progress to the shelter, and we have options. Look at the sky. Looks like there's clouds above. Seems like a very similar situation to Eliza Brook Shelter about 11 days ago. Although, a couple important differences. Number one, I know I'm much more confident that there actually is a campsite 1.2 miles beyond the shelter. Whereas, when I went past Eliza Brook, I was not positive that there was a campsite. And 2, the terrain, or at least the elevation profile for the 1.2 beyond the shelter is not, it's not extremely steep. The first mile is mostly flat, I believe, and then the last 0.2 is uphill. But I'm pretty confident that it's not anywhere near the difficulty of climbing up South Kinsman Mountain after Eliza Brook Shelter. Anyway, we are definitely losing the light here. Just try to get as far as we can while we still have light, and then I will get my headlamp out and use that to help us. Good evening, Riley and Van Gogh here. We are in our tent now, so just want to close out the day for day number 139. Wednesday, September 18th, right? Yes, Wednesday, September 18th. So we did not even make it to Gentian Pond Shelter. We were about a half mile south of Gentian Pond Shelter. We did make it to to Gentian Pond, and I was able to fill up on water there, not realizing that there's a stream or brook that continues on from the pond and kind of parallels the AT north of it. So we're about 0.2 miles north of where I filled up on water at the pond area. But yes, I think the last time I was on, I did an update, we were about 2 miles from the shelter, and we still had a little light left, and we got most of the way to the shelter with the light, but it did eventually get dark, as it always does, and the trail has just been difficult. It's not been as difficult as the White Mountains, but it's continued to be difficult terrain. There's some stretches where it's not too rocky, but there's many stretches where there's just lots of rocks, and there continues to be a good bit of elevation, ascent and descent, and yeah, it's just not easy walking. So I was feeling like the trail leading, just south of here was pretty difficult, and everything is more difficult in the dark. So I saw in far out there was supposed to be a tent site right around this area, and so I was looking for it and was able to find it. And it's actually a pretty small tent site, so I had to be kind of creative with how I positioned the tent. But fortunately, I was able to get it set up, and Riley and I are inside now, and we're safe and sound, and we have plenty of room. So we're going to be able to have a good night tonight. We are currently at mile 1910.2, and so that means we hiked we started at 1901.3, so we hiked a total of 8.9 miles today. And the time right now is 8:50 p.m. And it's getting basically fully dark by around 7:30, and it's getting kind of dim by around 7 p.m. So part of the reason we're not doing as big a miles as we were earlier in the hike is so there's really two reasons. Part of the reason is just that it's getting darker earlier, and unless I want to hike it in the dark, which I don't generally want to, that just reduces the amount of time that we have to hike. It's really getting dark like a full 2.5 hours before it got dark in the south, at least a full 2 hours. So we just have a shorter hiking day. And the second reason is just that the terrain is more challenging than in earlier parts of the hike. Not to say that earlier parts of the hike had easy terrain, but definitely the White Mountains were harder compared to earlier parts in the hike. And we're still in New Hampshire. We're about 5 miles south of the New Hampshire-Maine border. So I would expect we will cross into Maine tomorrow. And yeah, the terrain, like I said earlier, the terrain that we were walking today, not as difficult as the super hard sections of the White Mountains, but still plenty difficult. So that's also continuing to slow down our pace. And yeah, if we continue at this pace, then we're not going to finish by October 15th. So either we need to increase find a way to increase our mileage by getting up earlier, and that's one way to do it. And another way to do it is to try to not take as many breaks. We did take multiple long breaks earlier in the day today, particularly when it was, when the sun was high in the sky and it was hot out. And that really cut into our potential progress. We could have definitely gotten further if we had continued to be able to move instead of taking such long breaks. But yeah, so got to figure out a way to try to get further along with the hiking time that we have. We only have like 27 days left until October 15th. On the positive side, it's not likely that Katahdin is actually going to close right after the 15th. My understanding is that in previous years they've closed closer to October 22nd, somewhere around there. So it's likely we'll have a little bit of time after the 15th. But anyway, that's not in our control. What is in our control is just trying to be safe each night, and fortunately we're safe tonight. And we have, and also what's in our control is how we hike. But I have, Riley has a mind of his own, and sometimes he doesn't want to hike, and I don't want to force him to hike if he doesn't want to hike. So that's just been something that we've been dealing with throughout the entire hike so far. But just thinking if there's anything else to bring up. So I met this new hiker today named Achilles. I think he was planning to go to the shelter tonight. Seems like a cool guy. He's a pretty fast hiker. We talked for a bit while he was taking a break earlier. And so it was cool to meet him. And the only other northbound hiker we saw today was a guy named Noodles, who I've met before on the trail. He doesn't really talk very much. We're friendly, we say hi to each other, but he passed us earlier today, and it was just kind of like, hey. And then he hiked on. During our break earlier, one of our long breaks, I was able to, since I was thinking Riley just didn't want to walk, I took my book out and I was able to read a chapter in my book. So that was a positive. I'm going to try to get some more reading done tonight. What else, Riley? Riley is curled up and trying to sleep right now. We are about 12 miles or so from the south end of Mahoosic Notch, so it's not likely that we will get there tomorrow or not likely that we will get through the notch tomorrow. Because even if we get to the south end of the notch, tomorrow, I would want to get there by like 5 p.m. if we were to try to get through the notch, because I would want to allow at least 2 hours of daylight. And I wouldn't want to risk trying to get through the notch in the dark. That would be not good. Not a good strategic move. So at this point, it's looking like we will just try to get as close as we can to the notch tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, and then try to traverse the Mahoosic Notch on Friday sometime. But we'll see. We'll see what the future brings. I will stop rambling here. I will close out the video, close out the day. Again, day number 139. So, hope everyone's doing well, and I'll say good night for Riley and I, and we'll check in tomorrow. Okay, bye for now.